This week's Grandmaster is the Corrupted, which is famous for being one of the hardest GMs in the game. And if you don't have experience with this Nightfall, that remains to be true. With that said, this Grandmaster has been nerfed several times at this point, and I have some insane strats to share with you guys that will make this Grandmaster a breeze. I'm Above, and if you enjoyed today's video, a like and subscription would be greatly appreciated. Now, let's get into it. Starting with my recommended team comp, we used one Invis Hunter with Aeon Swifts, one Arc Titan with Heart of Inmost Light, and one Well of Radiance Warlock using Starfire Protocol. The Invis Hunter allows you to skip past enemies for significant time saves and debuff Sadia in the boss room. Arc Titan provides top tier ad control in both the elevator and boss encounters, while Well is used for survivability and an easy damage buff during the boss bake. You burn through a ton of ammo in this Grandmaster, which is why stacking Aeons with Lucent Finisher is key to success here. It not only gives your Aeon user ammo, it also keeps your teammates fully stocked at all times. Shadebinder Warlock, Void Titan, and Revenant are all solid alternatives depending on your playstyle. As for weapon loadouts, we'll need to cover both Overload and Unstoppable champions and have the ability to balance ad clear while also having burst damage for the boss fight. I recommend Arc Linear Fusion Rifles because Sadia is a crit based boss, and these will also deal 25% bonus damage because of the Arc Singe. We used a Divinity to stun Overload champions and help bake the mini bosses, 2 Unstoppable hand cannons, and an Overload SMG in case our div player ever went down. We also used Wither Horde and a Waveframe grenade launcher for ad clear, and though all 3 shield types do appear in this Grandmaster, the only solar shields are in the boss room, and you can brute force these with your Warlock's fusion grenades. It's also worth noting that you do not want to use Divinity on the final boss. Techians are crit-based enemies as I mentioned earlier, which means you'll actually do less damage with div applied. Divinity is solely used to manage Overload champions and to speed up this Nightfall. If you don't have a Storm Chaser, the Sail Spy Pitchglass and Tarantula are solid alternatives. As for key armor mods, I recommend Arc Resist and Concussive Dampener to counter the Arc Singe, Sect of Insight on your Aeon Gauntlets to keep your team topped off on heavy ammo, and you can pair this with Lucent Finisher for double heavy drops. I also recommend that your hunter utilizes Special Finisher to keep your div user topped off on ammo as well. Trust me, you'll need it. I also used Counter Charge and High Energy Fire to deal additional damage against champions, and Weakened Clear to help debuff majors in the elevator. Linear Scabs are also extremely useful, and last but not least, you can use Take Inspect to increase the damage of your weapons. With this setup, you'll be able to spam heavy ammo in every single encounter. As we dive into the Nightfall, prepare to spawn kill the Overload champion that appears directly in front of you. Stun it with div and nuke it with your linears. Get used to using your heavy ammo here because it's actually insane how much damage they do in this Nightfall, and we're gonna take advantage of it as much as possible. Once dead, summon your sparrows and head right to skip the hordes of ads in front of you. As you reach the other side, there will be a Taken Phalanx mini boss that will walk into your line of sight. Apply div and melt it with linears. These are the only enemies you need to kill in this entire area as long as you're fast enough, because you actually beat the spawn of the Overload champions, which means that you can skip them without it affecting your platinum rewards. Next up, we have the elevator. This is one of the hardest parts of this Nightfall and is actually made worse by people playing too passively. You actually want to hold your ground and play aggressive against the enemies by spawn killing them, which makes this part much easier. Start by having your hunter disperse orbs to your teammates, which will charge the orbs, allowing you to insta-break the shielded enemies. Though you used to be able to stack these orbs on the ground, that has since been patched and is no longer possible. Once both orbs have been charged, your hunter will start the encounter. I like to position my teammates on the right-hand side of this pillar, as it gives them a clear line of sight on the enemies as they spawn. They can also use their grenades to help them clear the first wave of scions, while the hunter spams Wither Wither Horde and their grenades to spawn kill the rest. With all the enemies dead, this gives you a safe break on the shielded mages that spawn in shortly afterwards, and though the phalanxes die rather quickly, the Centurion is beefy and his Axion darts can almost one-shot you at even tier 10 resilience, so you'll want to make sure to make this enemy your priority. Apply div and melt it with your linears, and just like that, we finished the first phase of the elevator without breaking a sweat. The elevator will start filling with taken corruption, which indicates it's the start of phase 2. While this is happening, your hunter will disperse new charges to your teammates, and just like last time, we'll use nades and Wither Horde to clear the first wave of ads and use the orbs to break the shielded enemies once more. This time, however, we have a much worse line of sight due to the taken corruption, so you actually want to back up after breaking their shields to kite the enemies around their room until you're able to kill them. And when the final mini boss dies, the taken corruption will disappear, meaning we're done with the elevator. But before we can leave this area, we'll need to clear out the ads in front of us. This wave includes an unstoppable ogre, 2 shielded arc knights, and a shrieker. I recommend clearing from the elevator as they'll be out of your effective range, making this pretty simple. When the unstop dies, the arc knights will back up to the room that contains the shrieker. Kill this from a distance, then give finishers on the knights to top off on special ammo. As we transition to the next area, there will be 2 unstoppable ogres, 3 arc knights, and 2 shriekers. Be sure to get finishers on both of the ogres here, as the ammo from these is crucial to success in the next encounter, and the next encounter will begin when we reach the top of the stairs. There are 2 key enemies here. The ransacker ogres control the castaway mechanic, which teleports your fire team back and forth between the normal and ascendant planes, and this is extremely dangerous because this room is loaded with enemies. But with the strat you're about to see, we kill just 5 enemies total. Head up the right stairs and sprint towards this planter. Throw down a well and get ready to stun the unstop that spawns randomly at either the back left, middle, or right hand side of the arena. Stun the champ, nuke it with linears, then bake the ogre. If you're able to kill it, you're done with this side of the encounter, and if not, you'll be teleported to the Taken Realm, at which point you can back up for safety and wait to be cast back to the normal plane. When this happens, finish off the ogre, and you'll be teleported back to the ascendant plane permanently. One person will be responsible for baiting the unstops towards you, while your 2 teammates head to the room on your right for safety. Just make sure they stay on the bottom floor, or they'll aggro ads from the top floor, which you absolutely want to avoid. As the unstops make their way over, head into the room and bait them in for finishers. This will give you plenty of ammo to kill the Taken Ogre, which is the last enemy we have to kill here. All the other enemies will despawn, with the exception of 3 Shriekers, but you can just ignore these by jumping up on the right hand side, smoking your teammates, and running through the portal. And just like that, we've cleared the Ogre encounter by killing a total of 5 enemies. As you exit the portal, turn left and back up to give you space between you and the 2 unstoppable champions. Give finishers once again and clear the thrall in front of you. There will be 2 more unstops at the bottom of the stairs that you can finish if you'd like, as well as overloads on opposite ends of the cliffside. Once dead, smoke your teammates and skip past the mini boss. And once you've descended, you'll want to clear the acolytes on each of these platforms in front of you. When you reach the last platform before this major area, you want to clear ads from the high ground before jumping down. They like to hide behind the pillars, but you can use Wither Horde to clear them out. And once most of the enemies are dead, you can jump down, clear the remaining enemies, and position yourselves on this cliffside to stun the next overload champion. Just make sure you get finishers on the final 2 overloads to fully restock on ammo before the boss fight. Now it's time to showcase the boss bake I hyped up at the start of the video. Though the setup is a little tedious, it's well worth your time. When you jump across to the boss platform, the fight will begin. Sadia will instantly teleport to the back right hand side of the arena, and ads will spawn on the right platform as well. You want to break line of sight with the boss by playing on the stairs next to the right crystal. Throw down a healing rift, use your hunter's weaken grenade, and use Wither Horde to kill the groups of enemies as they land. You do not want to damage the boss even a little bit, as even immune damage against her shield can throw off the AI, which can mess up her positioning for the final final bake. Storm grenades can jolt the boss if they're too close, so you'll want to be careful with those. Once the room is clear, your Invis Hunter will head over to grab the orb and toss it to your teammates to charge it. You'll then break the boss's shield, which will trigger the next wave of ads. But do not shoot the boss here either. You want to ignore her again and clear the wave of enemies once more. And once dead, have your teammates sprint to the far side of the arena behind these two pieces of cover, while your hunter heads to grab yet another orb. She will still be unshielded at this point, but we're saving this orb for later. Since we haven't done any damage to Sadia just yet, we have 2 full damage windows to kill her before she leaves for the Ascendant Realm, and that's when the encounter gets a whole lot scarier, so we're gonna try to avoid this altogether. We now have a 3rd orb at our disposal, which adds a 3rd damage window to the boss fight, making this pretty much a guaranteed kill. Charge the 2nd orb, wait for Sadia to make her way towards you, then drop the orb in the center of this platform. You'll then drop a well behind this crystal and tether the floor next to the boss. And once again, do not use div here. Do a 3, 2, 1 countdown, shoot the boss a few times with each of your linears, and she will teleport to the platform directly behind you. Your teammates will continue damaging while the hunter picks up the orb away from your teammates. Wait for Sadia to re-shield, at which point you can throw the final orb at her, allowing you to bake the boss, making the Corrupted Grandmaster Nightfall a GG. If you found this guide useful, a like and subscription would be greatly appreciated, and you can catch me live on Twitch over at twitch.tv/above, where I'll be helping my community with GMs all season long. That's it from me. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Peace!